with all this happening to the structure of the judiciary, how did the Polish public respond? Were judicial reforms at the forefront of political discourse at that time, and how did that affect ultimate elections in which Law and Justice lost their majority?
2017 was very interesting because in 2017, government has passed very quickly a law reforming the Supreme Court. And interestingly, the law provided that the Supreme Court judges go retired by virtue of the law, and the Minister of Justice, not even President, Minister of Justice, is selecting with his basically finger, kind of a cherry picking, which judges stay.
Mm.
So that was, and it has been passed through the parliament within a couple of days, but it was so obvious that it is against any rules, just to kick out all the judges and select, those who are staying, that Polish people decided to go on streets. And can you imagine, they have organized protests in more than 200 Polish cities, and including, cities in the United States. So the so-called Committee for the Protection of Democracy was making demonstrations in Chicago, in New York, I think also in LA. And why was it so important? Because on the one hand, those protests pushed the President Andre Duda to veto this law. So more or less, even he, who was loyal to the ruling camp, thought that it is too much, that he cannot agree on that kind of changes, and he argued that it is a strange system in which the prosecutor is selecting, judges that stay. Minister of Justice is at the same time a Prosecutor General in Poland. But there was like second element which was not that much visible, because those protests create symbols, created also involvement of the young generation. It was possible also to connect the whole context of those protests with the possible exiting of Poland from the European Union. So people felt that this further attack on judiciary means that sooner or later we are going to become next Brexit country. So not Brexit, but Polexit country. But also those protests gave a lot of strength to judges themselves in order to resist and in order to stay on this track of protecting their own integrity. So later on, if you see any further protests, you could feel all the time like the reference to those times.